But you shouldn't have to leave America because the president's making the block too hot for you. So and I did resent that the Republican Party ran on transgender jokes. I felt like they were doing a weaponized version of what I was doing. I didn't. It's not what I was doing. I didn't feel wrong being up there.
Yeah, I know you're talking about the Comedy Festival in 2025. You did get a lot of fall. You did get a lot of, I don't know what pushback or criticism for going among other people.
Yeah.
Okay, the U.S. intelligence did make it clear that they believe that the Saudis killed Jamal Khashoggi and the embassy in Turkey. And you knew that when you went, right?
Oh, absolutely. Now,
You
I should tell you.
You had no qualms?
I won't say that. They asked me to go years before that. And
So recently, Dave Chappelle had an interview with NPR, and it seems like he is starting to regret some of the decisions he has made. Much of his regret appears to stem from the fact that the Republican Party not only embraced him as one of their own, but also made him the poster boy for the anti-trans rhetoric they have been pushing for years. With that said, I think we should start with the Riyadh Comedy Festival and why Dave Chappelle decided to perform for the royal family despite being aware of how oppressive the regime is and of its human rights violations.
But
I didn't feel wrong being up there.
Yeah, I know you're talking about the Comedy Festival in 2025. You did get a lot of fall. You did get a lot of, I don't know what pushback or criticism for going among other people.
Yeah.
Okay, the U.S. intelligence did make it clear that they believe that the Saudis killed Jamal Khashoggi and the embassy in Turkey. And you knew that when you went, right?
Oh, absolutely. Now,
You
I should tell you.
You had no qualms?
I won't say that. They asked me to go years before that. And I said no for that very reason. Since that time, the United States government does business with the Saudis. Netflix does business with the Saudis. Everyone. The Saudis finance tons of movies. All these things. I know. I see them financing boxing matches and all these things. And none of these things were an issue until I went there.
That's just a straight up lie. In fact, people have been vocal about this issue of corporations in the entertainment and sports industry helping the Saudi government wash their image in exchange for huge amounts of money. The only reason Dave Chappelle was unaware of all of this is because it never affected him personally until he received backlash for attending the festival. So to act as if this was never a problem not only shows how delusional Dave Chappelle is, but also how unaware he is of the very thing he is talking about.
And why is that? As soon as a black man can make money off the plantation, they try to tell you that the money is dirty. Well, okay, I'll go home and spend the money with actual slave owners on it. Where is this clean money you're talking
But you
about?
said you hesitated for years to go, the years you didn't go. So what made the difference for you?
Time and circumstance, time and the wheels of commerce kept turning. You know, if you want to be that pure about money, then stop driving your car, stop eating, don't use your cell phone. Everything is tethered to something that's just terrible. And I can make a million excuses or reasons to deprive that crowd of that show. But man, when I was standing in front of them, I feel like I did the right thing. Our governments are going to ruin everything for us. We'll never get to know each other if we just do everything that they want to do or function on the terms that they want us to function.
So because Dave Chappelle opposes government control over its people, he decided to perform for one of the most oppressive governments because he opposes it. How does that argument make any sense, and how does he not see that he is contradicting himself from one sentence to the next? Also, many comedians like Dave Chappelle and Bill Burr completely miss the point. The criticism wasn't directed at a comedy festival in the Middle East, but rather at who organized that festival. Most people would not have a problem if it were organized privately by fans of comedy who simply wanted to see their favorite comedians perform in their country. The issue is that it was organized by the Saudi royal family, the very people responsible for the devastating war in Yemen, the relentless crackdown on journalists, the arrest of women's rights defenders, executions, and the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. This is comparable to Dave Chappelle performing for someone like Benjamin Netanyahu, so for him to act as if people made a bigger deal out of it than it actually was raises questions about how seriously his views should be taken the next time he gives one of his philosophical rants about free speech, censorship, and societal issues.
But what about people who feel like you're punching down? Like you are not a trans person. And there are people who feel like it's different when you are part of the group that has been attacked, hurt, demeaned, etc. And then if you're outside of the group and you're having commentary about it, it causes feelings. And what do you say to people who feel that in some occasions you're punching down?
Well, okay, this is a conversation that I'm,
You're bored by, sick of?
Yeah, I'm not sick of it. I don't want to be dismissive to that sentiment, but I don't know. That's a tough one for me because so much of that was a media phenomenon. What was happening in actual life versus how the media was reporting on my show. And I feel like the way they reported on that show was rage baiting to some degree. And there's so many different branches to talk about it. But I would say that, not everything is for everybody. I don't tell country artists what to sing about if I'm not going to go see a country show. If they bought tickets ever, maybe I'd listen. I don't know. They're just never there. I don't even know who's telling them I say these things.
Do you feel like your jokes are misrepresented, or
I do.
you think they're misrepresented for a purpose, which is to
It's almost, well,
get
some
clicks,
reporting
whatever.
was as if, they almost reported on it as if I was doing something other than a comedy show. I could go on and on about this, but I got to be
interesting?
careful.
So in a way, like you're saying, look, I'm a comedian. Everybody knows that I'm a comedian. So if you don't like my humor, don't buy a ticket.
Reading a joke is a lot different than sitting in a room and hearing it. And part of the sitting in the room part of one of the reasons comedy works is because everyone that bought a ticket, clearly they want it to work. They want to have a good time. They want to have fun. But if you're a person that is very angry or passionate about something, and you're afraid that you're going to be misrepresented or misconstrued, and you feel like you have to police comedy to get your point across, you should assess your point.
I hate this argument with a passion. First of all, it's not policing, it's simply criticism. And considering that Dave Chappelle is such a strong advocate for free speech under the First Amendment, everyone is allowed to criticize whatever they want. And in turn, Dave Chappelle is allowed to criticize the people who criticize him. That's the beauty and the whole point of free speech. You're allowed to have an opinion. So if I don't agree with his stance on trans people, that's not me policing his speech. It's simply me criticizing him, something Dave Chappelle should be very much in favor of. After all, without the right of free speech, he would not be able to make his jokes about trans people in the first place. With that said, the next part is quite interesting because you can hear some regret from Dave. It feels like it's starting to sink in that all of those jokes about trans people might not have been the best idea.
But you shouldn't have to leave America because the president's making the block too hot for you. So and I did resent that the Republican Party ran on transgender jokes. I felt like they were doing a weaponized version of what I was doing. I didn't. It's not what I was doing.
That was exactly what he was doing. And the reason Dave Chappelle did it in the first place was that MAGA and Trump were at an all-time high in popularity. At the time, being associated with them was very profitable, not just financially, but also in terms of his own popularity. And now that the tides have shifted and people are starting to see MAGA and Trump for what they are, Dave Chappelle is beginning to distance himself. All of a sudden, now that is no longer profitable and people view you very negatively for even considering being associated with MAGA and Trump in the first place, Dave Chappelle is only now starting to show what seems like fake regret. The same applies to the other comedians such as Tim Dillon, Andrew Schultz, Theo Von, and others who now appear to be realizing that being associated with MAGA does more damage to their careers than it elevates them, which suggests that their top priority from the very beginning was their own self-interest.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
This is before I learned the phrase, I respectfully decline. And I was on Capitol Hill, and everybody ran up to take pictures with me from every congressional office. And I just take pictures with whoever asked. I didn't ask how they voted, what their voting record is. And everyone at first was like CBC people. And then here comes Lauren Boebert. And she said, "Can I get a picture?" And I'd already taken 40 pictures. I didn't want to say no in front of everybody. But I didn't know the phrase. I respectfully declined. So I just took the picture. And then she posted a picture before I could even get from there to the show and says something to the effect of, "Just two people that knew that it's just two genders." She instantly like weaponized it or politicized it. So I got to the arena and I lit her ass up for doing that. And she should never do that, person like me.
Now she knows what's up.
Yeah, you do whatever the fuck you're doing. Excuse my language. You do whatever it is you do, but don't get me out of the splash zone of your...
This is so hypocritical on so many levels that it's almost unbelievable he even considered making this point in the first place. Apparently, Dave Chappelle had a problem not only with taking a picture with Lauren Boebert, but also with her anti-trans rhetoric. Yet he had no problem taking a picture with Elon Musk, bringing him on stage at one of his comedy shows, and even defending him after people booed him once he stepped on stage, despite all of the years of anti-trans rhetoric Elon Musk has promoted, including toward his own transgender daughter. What this suggests is that Dave Chappelle doesn't believe a single word of what he has said so far. Instead, what he is saying now appears to be an attempt to distance himself as much as possible from MAGA and Trump, simply because it is no longer popular. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. If you enjoyed it, you can also watch this one about Brendan Schaub, where it seems like everything he tries to do and everything he touches turns into a complete failure. It's quite impressive to see someone try so many different things and fail at all of them.